Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the December 6th Union County Public Schools Board of Education meeting. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. We'll begin this evening with the invocation. I'd like to call on board member Mr. Gary Sides to do the honor. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would bow your heads. Dear Lord, we come to you tonight to ask for wisdom, not only to do what is right, but to know what is right. We accept, the people at this table accept the awesome responsibility for our students, our fine teachers, and our wonderful staff. Give us the wisdom to do the right thing by them. Keep all of our children safe and bring them prosperity as we end a year and begin anew. We pray in your name, in your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. No, I am. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. All right, at this point in time, we're going to move into the agenda. That is a very special moment for our newly elected board members. This is the swearing in section of our newly elected members. So at this point in time, I'd like for our new members to please come to the front. They will be sworn in this evening by Mr. J.R. Rowell. Mr. Dennis Rape will be sworn in by Ms. Carol Reeder. So at this point in time, please come to the front as a group, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Rowell.
All right, is everybody ready? I'll read the oath, and after each section, if you do, just say I do. Then after the oath, I'll have you all sign your oaths after the hugs and kisses and congratulations and all that good stuff. Congratulations to all of you who were elected or re-elected to the Union County Board of Education. You have such important positions with a lot of responsibility. So I just want to say congratulations to all of you. All right, I'm going to read the oath. Do you place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right. Left hand on the Bible and raise your right. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, so help you God? Do you further solemnly and sincerely swear or affirm that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, that you will support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability, so help you God? Do you further swear or affirm that you will well and truly execute the duties of the office of member of the Union County Board of Education according to the best of your skill and ability and according to law, so help you God? Congratulations. All right.
Will you put your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States of America, so help you God?
I do.
Do you further solemnly and sincerely swear that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof? That you will support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of the said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability, so help you God?
I do.
Do you further swear that you will well and truly execute the duties of the office of member of the Union County Board of Education according to the best of your skill, ability, and according to law, so help you God?
Okay, at this point in time, we are going to take a 5-minute recess and allow family to come and take pictures with their loved ones that are new members of the board. So we're going to take a 5-minute recess and then come back to the agenda. Thank you.
That's good. That's all that counts. Let's go.
Okay, we're going to come back together now. Thank you to everyone in our audience for your indulgence during that short recess. And congratulations to all of our newly elected board members. Let's give them one more round of applause. We are now going to move into the agenda for the election of officers. Nominations are now in order for chairperson of the Union County Board of Education.
Mr. Superintendent, I'd like to make a motion to nominate Ms. Melissa Merrill for chairman of the Union County Board of Education.
Thank you, Mr. Sides. Ms. Merrill has been nominated. Are there any further nominations?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the nominations be closed and Ms. Merrill be elected by acclamation.
Okay, the nominations have been closed. Ms. Merrill has been nominated. By a vote of hands, for Ms. Merrill as the chairman or chairperson of the Union County Board of Education. And it is unanimous. Congratulations.
Janelle, it's okay.
I'm sorry. This one.
That one's easier.
And I'll gladly turn the meeting over to you.
Thank you very much. We will open for election or nominations for the Board of Education Vice Chair.
I nominate Gary Sides as Vice Chair of the Union County Board of Education.
Are there any other nominations?
I move that we close nominations.
Okay, Gary Sides is nominated, and there are no further nominations. Okay, the nominations are now closed. The candidates will be voted on. There's only one, so let's take a vote for vice chair. All those in favor? Okay. Gary Sides is now the vice chair of Union County Public Schools Board of Education. We will move now to the approval of the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay. The agenda is approved. Okay, and then we will have the John H. Crowder Service Award, if the board members will please come forward.
Each month, we recognize a high school student with the John H. Crowder Award for Community Service. This award is a living tribute to the late John H. Crowder, who spent more than 31 years serving the children of Union County. Criteria for winning the award are students must not only be academically successful, but must also have an established history of community service in more than one area or with more than one organization. Tonight, we award the John H. Crowder Award to a very special young man from Marvin Ridge High School. Would Michael Kronovitz please come forward? Michael, a senior, is an AP Scholar with distinction. He's also a member of the Marvin Ridge tennis team, which has won the state championship for 2 consecutive years. Michael is a founder and the president of the Student Offering Services, or SOS, as it's called. SOS partners Marvin Ridge High School students with Marvin Ridge Middle School students to offer student tutoring on a weekly basis. This program is in its 4th year. He is also a Union County representative for the Cause for Racket charity and organization Tennis Racket Collection locally. This is an effort to partnership with tennis charities that support underprivileged students. Michael volunteers with the Mecklenburg County Teen Court, where he serves as a foreman and a juror. The court tries about 20 actual juvenile cases each year. He's created and moderates a website which facilitates discussions on immigration policy and the impact of the presidential election. Michael plans to study business in college, and he's the son of Gail and Neil Kronovitz. Congratulations, Michael, for being named the December John H. Crowder Service Award winner.
The Union County Public Schools Employee of the Month Award recognizes employees in non-teacher, non-certified positions. It was created to honor those who have exemplary work and performance, those who promote positive morale, or possibly those who demonstrate initiatives and creativity that improve the operating efficiency of their department or the district. Individuals can be nominated based on their performance, their customer service, or an individual incident that merits commendation. Our December recipient is Mr. Randy Hayes, the lead custodian at Kensington Elementary School. His principal, Dr. Rachel Clark, will now come forward and introduce Mr. Hayes.
He's got it. I gave it to him. You can actually read this if you want to.
Good evening. It's not easy being the lead custodian of a school, especially during the summer, and during the school year. Randy Hayes not only demonstrates excellence in his overall work performance, but he also exemplifies the Kensington expectations of professionalism and collaboration. Mr. Hayes is known for coming to the rescue. When we are looking at some crazy directions to assemble a piece of furniture, he'll just quietly take it away and bring it back perfectly assembled. When our Mandarin teachers moved here from China, he volunteered his time to help bring donated furniture to their homes. While Mr. Hayes is one of those quiet, laid-back professionals, he also exudes a joyful, positive attitude. He never frowns or backs down from a request. He is always more than happy to help. Mr. Hayes is so very deserving of this recognition. He is such a valuable part of our school and a role model for all of us, staff and students alike, because of his professionalism and positivity. So I get the opportunity to share this proclamation, Mr. Hayes. Employee of the Month Proclamation. Whereas the Union County Board of Education values the hard work of each employee within the district. Whereas custodians are an essential part of district operations. Whereas Randy Hayes exemplifies the performance, dedication, and teamwork essential to the success of the district and its students. Now, therefore, we, the Board of Education for Union County Public Schools and Dr. Andrew G. Houlihan, Superintendent, hereby proclaim that Randy Hayes as the Employee of the Month for the month of December 2016. Congratulations.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Houlihan. We have an amazing young man here tonight who helped his team win the gold medal in basketball recently in the North Carolina Special Olympics tournament held in High Point. Would his coach, East Union Middle School Assistant Principal, Mr. Maxie Johnson, please come to introduce this fine athlete?
Good evening, board and Dr. Houlihan as well. This young man is Jason Toot. That's all I can say. Jason Toot, a senior at Sun Valley High School, has been on Union County Special Olympic basketball team for 3 years. He played an important role in our gold medal run this year. It makes me extremely proud, and I wanted to say something to him, and I know it's not on here, but I'm going to say something to him and his father as well. Okay, he's got his medal, everything. You are a gold medalist. Dad asked me at the end of the championship game, did Jason make the adjustments that were needed on his own, or did I tell him to do that? And I have to say that was his decision. I was on the sideline watching this young man, brilliant young man. I'm very proud of him, and I know his teammates are as well, and we just really appreciate him and all the accomplishments that he has achieved. And, you know, be proud because you are a gold medalist, young man. Good job, Jason Toot.
Central Academy of Technology and Arts theater teacher Larry Robinson and his acting students are certainly no strangers to recognitions. They historically bring home theater awards to Union County every year. This year, however, a very talented group of students made the school's history. For the first time at CATA, a senior class play was won at the state level competition and will now go on to represent North Carolina in March of 2017 in the Southeastern Theater Conference in Lexington, Kentucky. This student-written play won the audience vote for Distinguished Play, while CATA seniors Andrew Bronca won Excellence in Directing and Justin Rivers won Excellence in Acting. We ask that Mr. Robinson please come forward to introduce these students.
Thank you, Dr. Jones. The members of the senior class who are present tonight are Justin Rivers, Belle Downing, Maddie Sedberry, Andrew Branca, Noah Kajowski, Turner Finnerty, Kaylee Tollison, and Thomas McCorkle.
We have 5 schools that have earned the North Carolina Positive Behavior Intervention and Support Status. PBIS is a proactive approach that offers behavior supports and addresses school-wide discipline strategies. It defines, teaches, and supports appropriate student behavior to create positive student environments. This isn't just in the classroom. It also includes student behavior in the hallways, on the bus, and even in the restrooms. There are 3 levels of PBIS recognitions: a green ribbon school, a model school, and an exemplar school. The levels were created so that schools could be recognized in each phase of their implementation. First, we have 2 schools that were designated green ribbon schools, 2 of only 41 offered in the state of North Carolina, with Sun Valley Middle School Principal Vicki Merritt, her Assistant Principal Danielle Nadada, and Union Elementary School Assistant Principal Amy Hurley. Please come forward. The Green Ribbon Schools have completed Module 1 training, have begun PBIS implementation, and have reached either a minimum score of 80 on the school-wide evaluation tool or 70 on the brief school-wide evaluation tool. Congratulations. And 3 of our schools have attained the designation of model schools in the state of North Carolina. They are only 3 of 13 schools in the state with this designation. Wood East Elementary Principal Denny Ferguson and his PBIS Chair Jennifer Lodge, Indian Trail Elementary Principal Dr. Candace Boatwright and her Assistant Principal Gina Chisholm, and Shiloh Elementary Principal Scott Spencer and his PBIS coach Michael Roy. Please come forward. Model schools have completed Module 1 and 2 of team training and are actively implementing PBIS and either have a minimum score of 90 on the school-wide evaluation tool or 80 on the brief school-wide evaluation tool. Congratulations to all of you for your hard work in implementing PBIS.
We are honored tonight to recognize 2 Marvin Ridge High School athletic championship teams. First, we have Marvin Ridge High School's women's tennis team, which has won the 3A North Carolina High School Athletic Association state championship for the 2nd year in a row. The team won its 5 playoff matches by a combined score of 27-0. The final championship match was 5-0 over Union Pines High School. Ella Imhoff was named Most Valuable Player with a 6-2, 6-1 victory. Her sister, Sophie Imhoff, won the Best Sportsmanship Award. Would Coach Julie Van Olden please come forward and recognize her players?
Congratulations. Thank you.
I'm pleased to introduce our players, Ella Imhoff, Most Valuable Player. Senior and Captain, Rachel Zabrinski. Rhea Shaw. Brinley Surface. Senior Nicole Colmenares. Winner of Best Sportsmanship, Sophie Imhoff. Ainsley Zabrinski. Senior and Captain Riley Burns. Senior and Captain Hannah Scott. Natalie Bittner. Rebecca Mastrangelo. Amelia Skopanich. And Rachel Kessler.
Next, we have the Marvin Ridge High School men's soccer team, which has won the 3A soccer championship, defeating Chapel Hill High School 1-0. Brandon Young was named the game's most valuable player. Head coach Jason Zach will now come forward and introduce his players. Coach Zach. Congratulations, Coach. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, esteemed board members. Thanks for joining us tonight. I want to introduce to you my boys. All right, guys, ready? All right, Tyler Fant is my goalkeeper. Number 2, Matt Winesett. Harrison Green, goalkeeper. Number 3, Grant Sutherland. Number 4, Hayden Green. Number 5, Austin Schott. Number 6, Patrick Papa. Number 7, Sean McEntee. Number 8, Dimitri Lavin. Number 9, Ryan Monk. Number 10, Matt Ranshaw. Number 11, and MVP, Brandon Young. Number 12, Ryan Welsh. 13, Alex Toth. 14, Will Ventura. 15, Andres Marcos. 17, Tyler Schockner. 18, Daniel Naranjo. 19, Logan Weber. 20, Christian Kiley. 21, Nick Jones. 22, Simon Fye. And 23, Hunter Briggs. And of course, me, Coach Zach.
Every year, the North Carolina High School Athletic Association and Wells Fargo recognize a high school whose overall athletic program outperforms other high schools in the state playoffs and state championship games. The Wells Fargo Cup is awarded based on a point system for top finishes in state playoffs over the course of a year. We are very proud of Weddington High School, which has won the 37th annual 3A Wells Fargo Cup for the 2015-16 school year. Congratulations, this is quite an honor. Would Weddington High School Principal, Dr. Kim Andrews, and the school's athletic director, point of personal privilege, one of my former students, Michael Hart, please come forward to receive your awards. Congratulations. Good job. Dr. Houlihan, Board of Education, that concludes our recognitions for tonight. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we are at school innovation presentation and recognition.
Good evening. I'm Donna Cook, the principal of Marvin Ridge High School. We're very happy to host you here this evening for our meeting. Tonight, we wanted to give you just some background about our school and showcase a few elements that perhaps you wouldn't see or hear about in other schools. Some things of which, though, are district-wide initiatives. Just to give you a little context, Marvin Ridge High School is the second largest high school in Union County with an approximate enrollment of 1,665 students. This is our 10th year of existence. In that time, our school has established wonderful traditions of excellence, achieved many milestones characterized by our high student achievement, our high graduation rate, recognized each of the last 2 years by the U.S. News and World Report for being in the top tiers of public high schools. We have varied academic options. You're going to hear about some of those this evening. Strong global initiatives. We're very proud of our 7-year relationship with our sister school in Nanjing, China, where we take a team of UCPS teachers every summer to teach English in their summer camp. That's just one example in that area. And then, as you've seen tonight, a rich tradition of excellence in athletics, also the arts. You're going to get a glimpse of that this evening, and many, many extracurricular offerings for our students. The academic rigor and the academic program of our school, of course, is first and foremost top priority. And we work to have that strong, solid academic foundation in place for our students from the very beginning of high school with their required courses, those foundational building blocks. And in addition, in our school, there are 3 common ways that our students begin to earn college credit while in high school and experience college level coursework. So there are opportunities for enrollment in those courses and those chances to earn college credit while here. First to highlight, and this is a district-wide opportunity, the Career and College Promise Program, which is giving our students dual enrollment opportunities in their junior and senior year, a great partnership between our school system and South Piedmont Community College. And over each of the last 3 years, on average, we have about 44 students who are dually enrolled, earning credits they're going to easily, smoothly transfer into any state school, and then also are commonly accepted in other states as well. So that's a great opportunity for our students. We also have a strong advanced placement program in our school. This is overseen by the College Board. We're currently offering 21 courses in our school face-to-face for our students. There are other online opportunities for them as well. On average, within our school, we have 530 students roughly. If you look at each of the last 3 years, that's about how many students are taking one or more AP classes at any time. And the average number of advanced placement exams taken per year by our students is 1,060. And how they perform on those exams is going to yield potentially. The one program that is at the college level as well, very rigorous program that is currently only offered at Marvin Ridge in our school system, is the 2-year International Baccalaureate Diploma Program. We currently have 110 juniors and seniors combined in this diploma program. And tonight I would like to give a chance for you to hear from Marvin Ridge High School English teacher and diploma program coordinator, Lindsay Arant. And she is also going to introduce 2 students from the program, Ben Cook and Faith Asenloy, to tell you a little more specifically and personally about the elements of the International Baccalaureate program and the benefits of that to our students.
Good evening. I'm Lindsay Arant, and I have been teaching English at Marvin since it opened in 2007, and I am also the IB Diploma Coordinator. I feel very passionately, very strongly about the IB curriculum. And to give you a general idea, at the end of the 2-year program, our students, our graduates, have the opportunity to earn an additional international diploma that includes other requirements beyond the curriculum, the rigorous curriculum that's in place, including community service, as well as extended research, and even character education. Our students even take an additional class that is related to ways of knowing and learning that helps them improve their metacognitive skills. One of my favorite parts as an English teacher of our program is that most of our assessments focus mainly in written expression and oral expression, not multiple choice in all of our content areas. Another thing that I really like about the program, probably the most important part of the program, is that it really focuses the mission of the International Baccalaureate Organization is to focus on helping students develop a strong sense of self-awareness that will help them understand their place in the larger global society. And to give you a sense of that tonight, I've asked 2 students to join us, senior Ben and junior Faye.
Hello, my name is Ben Cook, and I'm a senior here in the IB program at Marvin Ridge High School. I would say the most important thing that I've learned from IB would be balancing my life and learning time management. It is a very, very rigorous program, and yet I'm still able to do lacrosse and football. I'm a captain of both of those, and I also lead student council here, and it's just been a process learning how to manage my time and figure out how to do all the activities that I would like to do while still putting academics first. I've also become a tremendously much improved writer. IB, as Ms. Aaron said, is highly writing intensive. And without IB, I actually looked back at a paper I wrote at the beginning of junior year this past week, and I didn't even recognize the paper. I feel like I'm a completely different writer now, and it really has prepared me for life. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Faith Austinloy. I am a junior here at Marvin Ridge High School in the IB Diploma Program. And even though I have just started the program, I'm only 2 months in, I have learned a lot so far. One of the most important skills I think for me is learning how to communicate and work together with all kinds of people. Even people that I've been going to school with since elementary school, I've been able to be in classes with them where I've learned so much more about them. And because of that, we're able to go through this rigorous program, supporting each other and helping each other along the way because we're all going through the same thing. And because IB is more centralized in our classrooms, we really get to bond and we get to learn more about each other. And that really helps kind of ease us into this rigorous course. Thank you.
The IB program is such an important part of our school culture, and if you would like to know anything about it, please don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you.
In addition to that, I would like to accentuate what a great opportunity our students have through our district's career and technical education program, the internship opportunity. That gives opportunities for our students to career specialize in high school and really go into college or community college or those next steps after high school with a clear plan in mind and not waste time and really know their focus. Those internships give students opportunities to observe, interact, perform tasks, ask questions, and more in a variety of settings in our county, including hospitals, schools, places like Union Power. This entails a minimum of 135 contact hours for our students. Currently, we have 20 Marvin Ridge seniors confirmed for participation in this program this year, and that's a number I would love to see double or triple or more than that for our students to have that hands-on, real-life, career-based experience while they're in high school. Emma Huppy is one of our outstanding interns this year that I would like to highlight. If Emma is here and I haven't laid eyes on Emma, I'd like to call her up. But I would just like to highlight her focus and her experience has been divided between a nursing experience and a dental hygiene experience. And that has just given her a great way to know what she's going to do post high school. And she's super excited and a great ambassador for the career internships. In the mix of all of that, as we mentioned, our arts programs are so important to the life of our school, and the positive impact for our students who are participating in our visual and performing arts offerings, that list of positive impacts to the students goes on and on. One unique dimension of the arts offerings at Marvin Ridge includes the Czech improv team. I had never heard of the Czech improv team. I had never been to an improv show until I began my role at Marvin Ridge. And it totally struck me with what a wonderful opportunity it is for the students. In the mix of all these things they're balancing, these stresses, these high-level courses, so many extracurriculars, so many responsibilities and pressures, it is a fantastic opportunity for them to have fun and laugh and really bond as a unit. So tonight I would like to introduce to you our theater director, Mr. Winston Sims, and our Czech team captain, Macy Courtney, and they'll give you a little bit more background about improv.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Winston Sims, and this is Macy Courtney, and we're here to talk about diversity. Thanks for laughing. Wow. Just to put it out there, the reason that Macy is here tonight, not only representing Czech, but the reason that she looks the way that she does right now is because we have a technical rehearsal happening right now in the auditorium for our production of William Shakespeare's The Tempest in Space, and Macy just so happens to be playing an alien in that. So as soon as we're done here, we're headed to rehearsal. Okay, so anyway, back on track. My name is Winston Sims, and I've been the theater arts teacher here at Marvin Ridge High School since 2008. And in 2009, I formed Czech, which is the improv troupe. We have an auditioned group of about 16 individuals each year. And that group gets together throughout the year to practice the skills of improv. And not only do the players practice, but anybody who wants to come and practice these skills with us can. And it's not about learning to be funny. What it's about is teamwork. It's about listening to each other and rolling with the punches. So many areas of our lives involve those things, and this is a fun way that we explore doing that. The group has grown. It has seen many iterations over the years, and as Mrs. Cook said, if you've never been to an improv show before, I would definitely encourage it because it's a lot of fun. It's a good time for the players as well as for, so I would encourage you to check that out with us sometime if you can, and I'll let Macy talk a little bit more about some of the benefits, the things that she has garnered through her experience on the improv troupe.
Hello, everyone. Like Mr. Sims said before, my name is Macy Courtney. I'm a senior here at Marvin Ridge. I've had the pleasure of being on Czech for the past 4 years, but I've been captain for those past 2 years, and it's been such an honor and such a pleasure to be captain of such a great improv team. The first rule you learn in improv is to say yes and. What does that mean, you ask? Well, I'm about to tell you. This pretty much means that if someone offers something to you, like a new piece of information or a relationship, you say yes. But then not only that, you say and, so you add something to it that would continue the scene forward to a direction where there might be a goal or a final product. So if someone says, let's go to the store, you would say, yes, let's go to the store, and let's drive this awesome race car on the way there. Just make it more flashy and cool. I would say this rule applies a lot more out of life too, rather than only in Czech. Because like Mr. Sims already stated, you have to roll with the punches. And I feel as if a lot with life, you are in a denial about a lot of things that may occur. And by saying yes and, you accept the information that is given to you and you add something positive to it. For instance, I am actually the third reigning Miss Marvin Ridge from the high school theater program, and I've actually gone forward to win the Alex Kale Spirit Award, which is a $1,000 scholarship, which I competed against one representative from each Union County school. And I think that my positive attitude and my outlook on life aided me in this achievement. Czech is very cathartic for me. It's an emotional release because a lot of the time at the school you're worried about, oh, I have an exam coming up. Oh, I have a huge test. I have homework. It's just so much happening at once. And when you're a senior, you have college applications and oh my goodness. So Czech is a very nice way for you to express energy in a positive manner rather than keeping it boiled in. And I couldn't thank it enough for the impacts it's had on my life. And not only that, for the lives of my teammates, because some of these people you would never expect to be as present on stage as they are. We've had so many faces within our program. We've had the most powerful athletes to the kid who sits in the back of class who is extremely quiet. It really teaches you about not defining people by their labels, but looking past what is there and seeing the beauty of the person within. And it's very great to see that, especially on stage. I would like to thank you for listening, and I have to go rehearse now. I have to go and put on blue tights and be an alien. Thank you.
Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen.
And that concludes our innovation presentation and some highlights from Marvin Ridge High School. So thank you for allowing the opportunity.
And now we will move to public comments. 30 minutes has been allotted for public comments. Community members wishing to speak during public comments should state their name, address, and phone number prior to making other comments. The board will not hear in open session complaints about the performance of school personnel, personnel issues, confidential student issues, and individuals may address the board for a maximum of 3 minutes. Any person who is an appointed representative for a group may address the board for a maximum of 5 minutes. Should a community member wish to seek information or share items that may not be shared during public comments, our staff are available to address your concerns or provide information. Our deputy and assistant superintendents will stand as I introduce them. Dr. David Clark, Deputy Superintendent of Human Resources, and Dr. John Jones, Assistant Superintendent of Instructional Programs. And the first speaker who signed up tonight is Jennifer Weaver Spencer.
Have some folks joining me. Hi, I'd like to say that we're a group of concerned parents with children in the following Union County Public Schools, and I have a statement that I'll give to the board later. We have children.
And excuse me, would you state your name, address, and phone number?
Oh, sure. My name's Jennifer Weaver Spencer. My address is 3032 12 Mile Creek Road. And what else? I'm sorry. Matthews, North Carolina. And what else? At 980-339-8601. Thank you. We're a group of concerned parents with children in the following Union County Public School clusters: Cata, Cuthbertson, Marvin Ridge, Parkwood, Sun Valley, and Weddington. We've come together to make a request of the Union County Board of Education. As a result of the recent elections and other events, we propose that the Union County Board of Education and Superintendent Houlihan relay the following statement as a Connect Ed message by phone and email to all families of Union County Public School students. Union County Public Schools is a welcoming, safe, inclusive, and supportive school system for all of our families, including those who have been in Union County residents for a long time, those who are new here, and those who speak English as a second language. We support our students' right to an education free of bullying, harassment, intimidation, and discrimination, as stated in the Board of Education's Policy 47, Prohibition Against Unlawful Discrimination, Harassment, Bullying. The policy states, the board believes that all employees and students should be free of unlawful discrimination, including harassment and bullying, as a part of a safe, orderly, and inviting work and learning environment. It commits itself to non-discrimination in all its educational and employment activities. The board expressly prohibits unlawful discrimination, harassment, or bullying, however motivated, directed toward any person or group, including but not limited to acts reasonably perceived as being motivated by any actual or perceived differentiating characteristic, such as race, color, religion, ancestry, national origin, gender, socioeconomic status, academic status, gender identity, physical appearance, sexual orientation, or mental, physical, developmental, or sensory disability, or by any association with a person who has or is perceived to have one or more of these characteristics. Our district firmly rejects discrimination of any kind, whether from students, volunteers, teachers, staff, or administrators. Anyone, whether a student, volunteer, teacher, staff, or administrator who experiences or witnesses discrimination or harassment for any reason should tell a school counselor or principal immediately. Our school counselors are ready and able to support anyone with concerns. Union County Public Schools is committed to ensuring that every student feels accepted. We hold high our Board of Education's core values of fairness and equality. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Commissioner Richard Helms.
My name is Richard Helms. I live at 1212 Rose Hill Drive in Waxhaw. My cell phone number is 704-576-3357. I wanted to come tonight and personally congratulate the new board members. Kathy, welcome. Matt, Joe, Dennis, and Candace, welcome to the board, and we really look forward to working with you. Also, Christina, congratulations on your reelection. We've got an opportunity here that I think we can, if I go back to Dr. Houlihan's comment of Team UCPS, we've got an opportunity to be Team Union County, and I'm excited about that. Congratulations, Ms. Merrill, for your being the chair, and Gary, the vice chair. I extend an opportunity to get together and for us to work together. And we have the same goals. Sometimes our paths a little different, but we can work together, and I look forward to it. Thank you very much, and next 4 years is going to be great for all of us, right? Okay, thank you.
And that concludes our public comments. We will move to the minutes, approval of the November 1st, 2016 minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, that is unanimous. And now we will move to the consent items, the personnel agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay. And now we will have the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. First of all, again, let me publicly welcome our new board members. Welcome to what I call our team of 10. Our staff looks forward to coming in together to work with you as we transition during the next week and a half or so. And I also want to say I look forward. We're trying to plan a Board of Education retreat, hopefully in January, where we can come together as a team and really talk about goals and expectations and the beginning process of a new strategic plan that we need to get going here for Union County Public Schools. So welcome to each of you. And Ms. Helms, congratulations on your reelection. I do want to say a big thank you to Commissioner Helms. That means a lot. Thank you for taking time out of your day and your evening this evening. Congratulations on your reelection and your vice chair for the Board of County Commissioners. Please extend our heartfelt thank you to the entire Board of County Commissioners. And again, thank you for speaking this evening. Wrapped up my first 90 days as superintendent in Union County Public Schools. We had our last stop on our listening and learning tour at the Piedmont cluster on November the 16th. Over the course of around 200 public meetings, we've met with around 1,000 community stakeholders. And out of that, we have had around 5 pretty big trends that have emerged that from the listening and learning tour. Now, this has been posted on the UCPS website on the superintendent's page. The 5 major trends, number 1 has been around college and career readiness. That we as a system need to continue to do a lot of work around better preparing all of our students for college and career. A lot of folks in the education world have this idea of college or career, and we believe that it should be and. And I've said this publicly, and I'll continue to, unless you're going to be a full-time student for the rest of your life, at some point in time, you're going to have a career. So we are trying to work hard on better preparing all of our kids, even beginning in elementary school, on exposure to college and career opportunities. The second one was around academic programming. And you heard some great examples this evening from Marvin Ridge High School about the kind of academic programming here in Marvin Ridge. We need to do a better job, in my opinion, of ensuring that there is access to similar kinds of opportunities, not just in Marvin Ridge, but across our county. So that no matter your cluster, there are very similar opportunities for those kinds of academic programs in your schools. We heard a big trend around human capital development, recruitment, retention, especially of teachers and school leaders, really of all staff. That is something that as a school system, we need to be paying better attention to. Also heard some pieces about equity. Now this ties into academic programming, but we heard a lot about equity in terms of resources, ensuring that, again, no matter your zip code and no matter your cluster, you have the right kinds of resources at your school that you need. And that includes things like social, mental, and emotional health. That was a big one that emerged in every single cluster. Literacy was a big, big issue in every single cluster. And the final one was this idea of continuous improvement, that no matter if you're a high-performing school, a medium-of-the-road school, or a lower-performing school, all of us as a team and as a group of schools and a system of schools need to focus on continuous improvement. So those were the 5 kind of big trends that we heard. Again, these are going to hopefully feed into our strategic planning process that we hope to launch in January with our board. I want to thank all of the community members, the staff members, the employees that came to engage with us. It was a great chance for me as new to the community to really learn about the unique clusters, but also to learn a lot more about Union County. And I feel like I'm in a much better position now than I was 90 plus days ago. So thank you. I also want to say a big thank you to our supporters for supporting the bond. Our Union County bond passed 70-30. I want to thank our steering committee, our principals, and our staff for their hard work. I want to thank the county commissioners who passed a resolution authoring the bond issuance. We look forward to working with them, hopefully in January, in a joint meeting between the Board of County Commissioners and the Board of Education to really talk about bond implementation and how we're going to roll this out. Our next steps right now, all of our school sites that will be impacted by the bond have formed what's called a project advisory team. And these individuals will be giving advice and recommendations to our facilities committee and to me as superintendent about the process, about bond implementation, and I want to thank members that are serving in that capacity. And finally, in January, we're going to launch a public-facing website that is going to be devoted to bond oversight, transparency, and bond communication, so that when the bond is issued, we have a chance for the public to see how those dollars are being spent, and so that the public can hold us accountable for delivering on the promises that they voted on back in November. This week, this is really exciting. This week, millions of students across the nation are participating in a thing called Hour of Code. And when I came in, I asked my team, how many of our schools historically have participated in the Hour of Code? It wasn't all schools. It was kind of a mixed bag. And my academic background, I am a firm believer in computer science and in coding and in STEM learning. Because no matter if you're a right brain thinker or a left brain thinker or what your learning style is, having the ability to code and to learn about computer science, which in many places is viewed as another foreign language, there are huge job and career and college potential for you if that's your interest. I challenged all of our schools to participate this year, and I'm pleased to say that all 53 schools this week and into next week are participating in some form or fashion in the Hour of Code.
And so all of our students in Union County are going to benefit from that. We have a pretty cool video we've put together to highlight this. So I'll turn it over to our team who's going to roll the tape.
Code is an opportunity for every student to be able to experience computer science in their classroom before they graduate. And it can begin all the way at kindergarten levels and come all the way up through seniors.
Some of you like to play games on the computers. Okay? So you press up down, and your eye jumps up and down. Okay, so
It's called the Hour of Code, and it's about like teaching kids how to code, and it's like numbers and letters, and they're used to represent something. We went on our computers and we went code.org, and then we played games on it that taught us how to code.
You can change this number if you needed it to be a different number. All right, we're going to leave it at 4 because we need her to move forward 1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm playing Minecraft with my friend Joe, and then you showed off, and then that's it. We said you have to break like 3 or 4 trees or 1 if you get to the first level. And like you have to do this. You have to move forward, then move forward again, like this. Wait. Like this, you put it right here, and put another one right there. And then you press run, and then you made it. Okay. I'm actually giving away a lot of knowledge because, like, lately I've been very into this kind of thing. I'm actually kind of wanting to head towards coding or like teaching coding or something like that because I feel like it would be a good job opportunity and we'll always hang it around. All right, my name is Rachel Carnegie, and today I participated in the Hour of Code.
It's just an amazing experience because we can provide such a great experience for all those people who don't have this class or don't get a chance to mess with computers every day. I think that's an amazing thing I can do.
And it's just to help them experience computer science and understand how coding is really running our world and our technology advances right now and giving them an experience to feel that for the first time.
So pretty cool stuff. So I want to give a big shout out to our principals, our teachers, our instructional technology facilitators. This is amazing to go in and see first graders like the one that you saw. This stuff is so far over my head. I have no idea what they're doing, but they're engaged. They're seeing the educational benefit to it and a lot of life lessons. So very proud of the team. A couple of other announcements and then I'll stop. I want to give a shout out to a teacher at Monroe High School. Now this is featured on our website. Tyler Lee is a world history teacher at Monroe High, and he has been named a Fulbright Scholar and will begin a new teaching career in Malaysia in January. He's one of 100 Fulbright Scholars headed to Malaysia next month. He'll teach English there for 10 months. We look forward to having Tyler back a year from that. But I want to give a big public congratulations to him on a very rare, distinguished honor. And he's not here, but I'd like for you to give him a round of applause anyway. On the athletic side of things, I want to give a big shout out to Marvin Ridge High School. They had a great football season. It ended last weekend, but a great run. I also want to give a congratulations to Monroe and Weddington. They play in the semifinals of their state championship this coming week. If they win, they will play the following week in the state championship game. So congratulations there. As many of you know, we've been monitoring and tracking attendance here in Union County Public Schools since I came in. Each week, our cabinet staff receives an update. We talk with principals about it. Being in school is important. Just yesterday, there was an article released that ties in the correlation between literacy rates and attendance. And there was a direct correlation between reading proficiency and kids being in school. Since the start of the school year, we've had 154 students that have missed 15 or more days of instruction. That's a lot of time missed. And we're working with our principals and our attendance officers on this and on a game plan to ensure that we're doing all we can at the county level to ensure that kids are showing up every day. I do want to say again to parents, thank you for your support in this effort. We continue to look forward to partnering with you. And if there's anything you need from us to ensure that your children get to school on time, please let us know. We're here to help you. Speaking of getting to school on time, it's been a few months since I've given a transportation update. So let me provide the public and the board with a few points on that. We currently have 4 bus driver vacancies. We have had just recently 5 new drivers hired that will finish the Department of Transportation road test by the end of December. We do have 8 bus drivers, though, currently out on family medical leave. And these routes are either being absorbed or temporarily into other routes or being driven by area specialists. I know that I can't keep saying I'm still relatively new because, after about 90 days, you can't say that anymore. But listen, I want everyone to know that we take our transportation issues very seriously. We have a new director of transportation. His name is Marlon Watson. He's here tonight. He's been working 24/7 to make improvements. Are we where we need to be? No, we are not. But we are trying very hard to do what's best for our children and for our families. At the beginning of the school year, there were over approximately 20 vacancies. We're now down to 4. That is considerable progress. Again, it is not where we need to be and what our goal is, but we're making progress. I have asked to explore the hiring of an outside firm. We've never done this before. Someone that can come in and give a third-party expertise to evaluate how we're doing with our transportation efforts. I'm a big believer in third-party experts. Those that have done this work outside of a local system, but in a size and scope similar to this. Because there may be ideas or ways of doing things that we haven't even thought of. And it doesn't hurt to ask and to get someone and to come in and evaluate that. So we're exploring that. We're currently running significantly fewer routes this year than last. There have been questions about a thing called double routes. We do not schedule double routes. However, double routes do occur. And they're created mostly due to the fact that when we have vacancies and bus drivers that call in sick the morning of, we have to fill that void by doing a double route. Is that the best thing for our children? No. But when you don't have a pool of bus drivers waiting for you in the wings to come in and fill in a vacancy, we're left to do what we have to do that's most efficient. So we do have double routes, but we try not to schedule them. We're approximately $200,000 below year-to-date expenditures when you compare that to last year. We've adjusted our perfect attendance bonus program to be paid monthly, and we also are scheduling behavior management training for our EC bus staff that we are scheduled to roll out in January. So I want the board to know, and I want the public to know, I'm not satisfied with where we are. And I'm going to keep pushing our team to get better. But I do believe that we've made considerable progress. And I do want to thank publicly Marlon Watson and our transportation team. He came in a few weeks before I did and has already made some significant improvements. His level of customer service is impeccable. And he is more than willing to sit down with parents and call parents that have concerns or go to where they are and meet with them. So I do want to thank you, Marlon, and your team. I know you're working hard to make improvements. Again, we're not where we need to be, but I am pleased with some of the progress that we've made. And finally, my last comments, there's an item on the agenda that's next called Student Realignment Plan. This is an agenda that is folding in a timely situation because every other year, we work with an outside firm to come in and do a demographic analysis and an update on where we are with things like capacity and enrollment and where we are with demographic trends and growth. And so we are on track to continue in that cycle. We have already reached out to several firms, including Dr. Jerome McKibben. We've received proposals. We've received one from him. The total cost for that proposal is $11,000. And he's willing to come in and sit down and look at our current student assignment plan. And he's willing to look at whether or not we have options to do anything different in the future. Time, date, uncertain. There are a lot of questions and uncertainties about this issue. Mr. Sides and other board members have asked me about this earlier in the year. And I want the board to know we're committed to working with an outside firm to come in and give us a fresh set of eyes as to where we are. And I'd like to fold that in with our normal process that we would do on an off year around student assignment. He or his team will be prepared to come back to the board publicly at the February board meeting to deliver the results of his study. And staff is more than willing to give the board and any in the public information related to this item. We look forward to engaging with him and his team in this work just to see where we are and future possibilities of where we might need to make changes. So thank you again. That concludes my comments.
Thank you, Dr. Houlihan. Okay, so we will move on to Student Realignment Plan. I will ask Mr. Sides if he would like to speak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome to the group. Nice to have you here, ladies and gentlemen. In taking the handoff from Dr. Houlihan, without further ado, I'd like to offer a motion directing staff to initiate the development of such a new UCPS student realignment plan. The plan would include the following key provisions, which I'll include in the motion. Number one, in order to maximize efficiencies in the daily transportation of our students, and what I believe is in the best interest of our stakeholders, the centerpiece of this program would be around the concept of neighborhood schools. In other words, all possible efforts would be made so that UCPS students are assigned to the school within the closest proximity to their home. Number two, for those parents that do not feel it's in the best interests of their children to endure another move, a no questions asked grandfathering option would be made available. In other words, if you want your child to stay where they are, they can. Number three, staff will devise a proposal for consideration of the board for a citizens advisory committee to be involved in the development of this student realignment plan from the outset. Membership of this committee to be approved by this board. Four, I support staff's options of retaining outside professionals to forecast student population trends, to develop concrete school capacity figures, and to determine the optimum school assignment in order to ensure the best plan possible. After a favorable vote tonight, hopefully, I would ask the chair to assign further responsibility for this plan, not only to staff, but the appropriate Board of Education committee. And in due course, at the proper time, a final vote by this body. At this time, I would ask for a second to my motion, discussion, and hopefully favorable consideration. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
I'd just like to make an amendment, it's just a technicality, if we could direct the superintendent and not staff. Thanks. That's fine. Okay.
I will modify my motion.
Is there a second?
I second.
Favor? Oh,
I just want to ask, just for clarification, I don't know when we say that they can stay, is that throughout until like 12th grade or options? We're going to have Dr. McKibben or just look at different options?
I think, Ms. Boyd, I think that is, I've purposely been vague in that language so that the Dr. Houlihan and his staff and the parent advisory committee can determine what exactly is the best option for that.
Okay.
any other questions?
Yeah, Gary, I'd like to ask a question as well. On the no questions asked policy to stay at the school, is transportation going to be provided for those students?
Again, I didn't want to get too far into the specifics. I think that should be worked out by Dr. Houlihan and his staff and the advisory committee. I think that's more in the details than I wanted to get at this point. I just wanted to start the ball rolling.
If I could add something.
Go ahead.
If I could add something to that, back during the days of the Career Center days, all the high schools ran a shuttle where they fed the children into the Career Center 2 times a day. And at that time, it took about 12 minutes max to run that shuttle. So I think we could make transportation efficient by the child would go to their bus school, and then if they wanted to go back to the other one, we'd have a bus going there. That's the way they did it then, and it worked very well.
To go along with Gary's motion, I would just like to add, I would like to caution people that this is the beginning of a process. We're going to research it. We're going to do the right thing. As Dr. Houlihan said, they're going to engage the right people to look at everything. And we have no predetermined outcome of any of this stuff. It's just something that we think we need to look at because of some of the situations with respect to busing inefficiencies and crowding in the older schools. So I just want to caution everybody not to kind of get too excited. There's no timeline yet on it or anything. We're going to try to do this right and take a look at everything.
Dr. Houlihan, you originally said $11,000 that McKibben quoted us. Is that for just a brief overview, or is it going to be more an in-depth report? Because what was do we know, is Mr. Karpinski here? Do we know what the original cost was when we did it last time with Dr. McKibben?
Report was $2,035, and then previous to that, we had 2 studies done, one for $17,300 and another for $17,300.
And how many years?
That was over since December 2015.
So what I've asked for, Ms. Helms, is I've asked them to come back to us and say, during your every other year option, when you go back and make amendments and adjustments to your prior year report, add that in along with the language that Mr. Sides has mentioned. So it's kind of an amended version. It will be in depth. I do not need, or I don't think the board would want a superficial or an overview. This is more, a little bit deeper.
Okay. Is this already budgeted into what we've already planned? So it's not going to come from anywhere else?
No, it will come from our general operating budget.
Okay. And obviously, we can't forecast what the efficiency rate is going to be with the new proposal until after the new proposal.
That is correct.
Do we know what our current efficiency rating is for transportation?
Mr. Sam Bazin can come up. I'm not sure if we know exactly, but I know that we're able to forecast.
One thing to remember is the efficiency rating works on a lag. So the efficiency rating for this year is technically based on last year's numbers. So we are at 93.95. That was the published number for last year, and that's what we're funded on this year. We've run some models, and right now, if the deadline were today, we would be 93.15, which is slightly lower. But Mr. Watson and his team are looking at consolidating some routes. So we're confident that by the end of the year, we will be very close, if not a little higher than last year's efficiency number.
Thank you for that information.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Basden,
Go ahead.
will consolidating routes not make children later getting to school?
That's a difficult question to answer clearly. Yes, sir, it will. There are balances you try to find between maximizing your efficiency with reducing routes and minimizing the time children are on buses. So it's there's a balance there, and it's difficult to find.
And I want to ask you one more question that was sort of, for me, it glassed over. When I was out talking to people in the community about the bus driver problem, I was shocked to find out that their salary is frozen at the beginning level for 7 years.
Yes, sir. That is our current salary structure, leaves them at their entry-level price for the first 7 years.
What incentive is there for somebody to stay at a job like that they have no chance of any increase for 7 years?
That's a difficult question. I can't, I'm not prepared to answer that. I do know that in cooperation with Human Resources and Finance, our bus driver salary, along with all of our hourly employees, is under review.
And I'll add to that, Mr. Rape. Again, one of the things that came up as part of our listening and learning tour was this idea of human capital development. And I mentioned principals and teachers and retention and recruitment. Bus drivers fall right in there, as do maintenance workers, as do construction, as do this and that and that. And I think this board and our administration, one of our goals is, as we look at budgeting for next year, what is going to be our priority in terms of where we want to put additional dollars to do something like increase our bus driver compensation? Is that something that this board collectively would want to do? There are some things internally that we can do as well to help keep bus drivers on the job. All of these things we're going to be glad to talk further with the board about.
Go ahead. What is the cutoff date for the next efficiency rating? How much longer do we have?
We're judged on how many buses we have running for a 90-day period. So we have now through effectively the semester. January is that beginning of January is a good round time. Thank you.
I have a question, and this goes out to all board members, and I'd like everyone to respond. My question is, if we get our report back from Dr. McKibben and his findings and his recommendations are absolutely nothing like the proposal, I would like to know where each board member stands. Are we going to listen to Dr. McKibben and his forecasting and what he's recommending, or where are you, every board member, thinking where you want to go? Are you going to follow his direction and what his recommendations are, or are you planning to pick and choose?
I think that we're going to have to ask Dr. McKibben some questions. There's a lot of growth going on in certain pockets of the county, and in the past, he's always indicated that he's taken into account those growths in his numbers. He did not take into account charter schools last year, and that was part of the problem with our decline in enrollment last year. I think that it has to be some involvement to know what the parameters that he's being given and what he's being told by the municipalities about growth in their area. So I don't know if we can answer that until we know what is going into what he's working on.
Well, I think we can say, I'm going to listen to Dr. McKibben. Yes, we're going to take it under advisement, but I think we should go in another route. I think that's.
I would like to address that. In the last redistricting, the board didn't listen to Dr. McKibben then.
He requested that we move 7,000, we moved 3. No, we did not follow his recommendations to the letter.
Well, that's not my understanding. And I think that's what led to the busing inefficiency that has cost us so much, the 2.5 million between the 900,000 and fuel cutbacks and extra time and miles on the road.
I'm just going to reiterate the motion and to answer your question. I think we have to allow staff to give us input. We have to allow Dr. Houlihan and his staff to give us their advice on what works for Union County Public Schools. I believe, which was very different 3 years ago, we have to have a citizens advisory committee, that covers all 6 clusters, and we have to allow the parents in this decision. And finally, we absolutely do have to listen to Dr. McKibben. And so when you take all of those parts and put them together, then I would be able to make my decision on a vote in the future.
I agree with Melissa on that. I'd like to add too that we need to make sure we have good capacity numbers for the schools, and that we feel comfortable with the capacity numbers for each of the schools, so that we know, Dr. McKibben really can't tell us a lot unless we know what our capacities are in each of our schools and what they can handle. And I think that's something that we've been working toward, but I think it's something that we need to continue to determine the final things. But I agree with what Melissa just said.
And in facilities, over the summer and the last few months, we have been working with the facility staff to give us updated capacities. We started, I believe we started with the middle schools, and we got those numbers. And then the following month, we were given capacity information for our high schools. And the reason we did that in facilities is because our overcrowding was in the middle schools. So that was a logical place to start. And then we worked into the remaining high schools that weren't on the bond. And at our last facilities meeting, we have 30 elementary schools. Only one is on the bond. So we had the answer to that one. So we were able to break that in half, and we've received 15 of the elementary schools, and then we're ready to receive the other half. And so we've been making that progress on working on our capacity. So as soon as we form, now that everyone has been sworn in tonight, we'll be able to immediately put together our facilities committee. And Leslie and I have spoken to Dr. Houlihan and committed that we will work very hard to have a facilities meeting before the 21st.
I will, since it's my motion, I guess it's only appropriate that I answer the question as well. I think we all of us may have slightly different decision-making processes that we use or will use on this board. And not to say there's a right one or a wrong one, but that's why we have a staff, is to provide information from the professionals, to look at outside vendors for their professional opinion. But personally, I believe ultimately the decision rests with the 9 of us. We were elected by the people of this county, and you have a perfect right to use your own set of values or information, how you make the decisions, but ultimately it's our decision. So if I think, based on the information I receive from all sources, that I feel something needs to be tweaked, then I'll propose it. If the other 8 or how many others don't feel the same way, then that's the way it works.
Okay, any more questions or comments? Okay, well, we have a motion on the floor. All of those in favor of the motion as amended to that we would be directing the superintendent and not staff. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Okay, next on the agenda is the external audit report.
Good evening again. As you know, the law prescribes that we do an external audit by an independent third-party external auditor. The Board of Education last year has contracted with Anderson, Smith and Wyke, and Mr. Pete Spell is here to go over the audit findings.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Houlihan. My name is Pete Spell, and I'm a CPA with Anderson, Smith and Wyke. I'm here to present your completed audit report and comprehensive annual financial report. We've completed our audit of the board's records for the year ending June 30th, 2016, and each of you should have received an electronic copy of the district's CAFR that we issued. Within those audited financial statements, there are a total of 4 audit opinion letters addressing the various aspects of the district's finances that we are required to report on. The CAFR starts out with an introductory section, which contains a letter of transmittal from management, some information about the board, and organizational chart, as well as last year's CAFR award. The start of the audit financials is on page 1. On page 1 of the report is our financial statement opinion letter, which is a clean, unmodified opinion. This simply means that we feel that the numbers presented in this report are reliable, and the financial statements are free from any material misstatements and presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. This report is the highest level of assurance that you can receive in a financial statement opinion letter. After this, there are several pages of discussion and analysis with some tables of information showing comparative numbers to the prior year. But the actual statements begin with Exhibit 1 on page 10. They're just, let's see, excuse me. First, briefly on page 10, Exhibit 1, this is the balance sheet of the board as a whole. It combines all the funds and all the assets and liabilities that are not in the funds, like fixed assets, compensated absences, debt, and pension liabilities. It then combines them all to show Union County Schools as just one combined single entity. These are all well and good, but a school board does not budget or operate this way. It operates on a fund basis and a source of funding basis. So in looking at these statements and looking at the operations and status of the board at year end, really the more relevant and important schedules are exhibits 3 and 4 on pages 12 and 13. These are essentially the balance sheet and income statement for all your governmental funds. These schedules show the fund activities and fund balances on a fund-by-fund basis with a column for each of the funds. In the first column on page 12, at the bottom of the page, you see the general fund balance as of June 30th, 2016 is $6.5 million, which represents a slight decrease of $166,000 from the amount reported at June 30th, 2015. Of that balance, you have budgeted to spend $2.7 million to balance the fiscal year 2016-2017 budget, with plans to spend that on technology expenditures. There's also $3.8 million that is restricted fund balance. This is shown as the restricted by state statute amount. This makes up fund balance you cannot appropriate for one reason or another. Government accounting and North Carolina law is written to prevent you from budgeting money you don't have yet. So this amount is made up of receivables that you haven't received yet and open purchase orders for goods and services that you have not yet received or have not yet been rendered, but will be and must be paid for, even if the fund doesn't collect a single additional dollar. For these amounts, you must restrict fund balance to ensure you have money available to pay for these obligations. This leaves the remaining fund balance as available for appropriations, the unassigned amount of just $1,800. Now, this doesn't mean that you're going to spend all this money next year and that you will have no fund balance. You still have $6.5 million. It just classifies the fund balances into categories that don't allow you to budget with it, or if you've already budgeted with it, in the case of the $2.7 million. Overall, the fund balance in this fund changed very little from the prior year, and we consider it to be at an adequate level as of June 30th, 2016. Are there any questions about the general fund balance?
I do. What will the 3.8 million go for on the restricted fund balance?
I'm not, let me start back. I am the lead partner's not here, Adam Sapirk, and so don't want to give you a wrong answer, and I could get back with you and follow up with you and let you know.
That'll be okay.
Okay.
And is this 2.7 million, is this what we were talking about for laptops?
Yes, it is.
And I don't want to be a party spoiler, but I want to go back to page 2.
Okay.
I taught for 16 years, and usually when I had a student do something real obviously out of place, do you understand the difference between a PhD and an EDD?
No. A PhD and I'm sorry?
An EDD.
An EDD. No, sir. Could you please?
When y'all, Dr. Houlihan, do we have any PhDs on staff in Central Cabinet?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I was just under the impression of if we had questions, we'd get answers. I'll be glad for you to come back.
I apologize, sir. This is a popular night for financial statement presentations, and the lead partner, Adam Sapirk, he has to do a presentation on the other side of the state tonight, and so I had to come in and do the presentation. I apologize if I don't answer your question thoroughly enough.
You know that you're going to get back, right?
Yes, sir. I'll answer the question for you, exactly what that 3.8 million is going to be spent on. Was that?
The whole purpose, I used to have audited statements, and
Yes, sir.
everything that we claimed, we had to prove.
Yes, sir.
And when you say we have PhDs, I know that not to be a fact. And
Where is this on page 2? I'm sorry, I apologize.
the principal offers.
Oh, okay.
So this is reflective of the administration from the fiscal year 15-16. So unless I'm mistaken, I believe that perhaps Dr. Jones, Dr. Clark have PhDs, no, EDDs. So there's an error. There's an error with that. It was reflective of the staff that was present in the administration from the balance year of 15-16, not current staff. That's the error that he's pointing out.
I see. Okay. Understood. Okay. I apologize for that. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Also, on these schedules, you'll see the largest fund in terms of revenue is the State Public School Fund. This fund and the Federal Grants Fund, they do not carry a fund balance. You spend it or you lose it each year. On page 13, you can see revenues were $217 million last year compared to the general fund of $93 million. You also have a capital outlay fund, which is used for capital expenditures such as renovations and new schools and asset purchases. This fund fluctuates based on the amount of activity that might be running through it in any given year. You can see last year there was approximately 19 million of revenue, leaving a $620,000 fund balance. Any other questions regarding this schedule? After Exhibit 4, you have a reconciliation between the first two exhibits and the second two exhibits. And then you have some budget versus actual schedules. The main thing here is that you had no budget violations in which expenditures exceeded what was budgeted. Next schedules I would like to point out are on pages 19 and 20, exhibits 7 and 8. These are your business activity funds, the school food service fund and the child care fund. These exhibits show the balance sheets, revenues, expenses, and ending net position or fund balance for these two funds. First, on Exhibit 7, the main item to note here is at the top of the page, the cash position of $7 million and $2.3 million for the school food service and the child care fund, respectively. At the bottom of the page shows the fund balance for these funds of $7 million and $1.3 million. These are both healthy cash and fund balance positions for these types of funds.
I have a question there on the unrestricted balances. What is usually done with them?
It's not going to be the state statutes and the federal grants and awards that are awarded to the district. There's a laundry list of things that they can and can't be necessarily used for. And so this would fall under the amount that, you are not subject to such scrutiny and being able to make sure that you check off on a checklist of, we did this, and so we can spend this on this amount. It's really just a way of saying that it's not as restricted. I mean, it is what it says it is. It's just, it's unrestricted.
Well, I guess my question is, these are enterprise accounts and this is the profit off of them, the unrestricted amounts. Is that right?
Well, it is, but these aren't excessive profit amounts or anything to that nature. I'm not sure
Well, in a system that I understand we're coming up on some financial hills, I'm saying, are we looking at some available money without having to go back to the county to ask for?
So, Mr. Karpinski, can you address Mr. Rape's question, please? On these two balances, what cannot you use on this funding under unrestricted fund balance for your enterprise accounts?
Specifically, what number is he referring to? The unrestricted portion for school food service would go towards future operations. One of the things we are challenged with, of course, is cafeterias don't open up until August, September. So you do have to have some sort of, they recommend 3 months operating balance to get you going.
Is this an accumulation of money or 1 year's?
Yes, sir.
And how many months does the cafeteria, you say you have to have some money to get started?
Yeah, they recommend.
They start 2 weeks before school, right?
That's right, but operations for central services and buying food and everything else starts in July for year-round, as well as, to buy things for the new year before the year gets started.
I'll come back. I'll have some more questions with you on that because I'm just trying to help do what I promised and making sure that we are vigilant of tax dollars.
Absolutely. The primary sources of the revenue from the Child Nutrition Division is, of course, lunch, the charges for lunch meals, as well as federal dollars coming from the federal government. The primary item is the USDA grants, which is very highly restricted in what you can use that money for.
But once it goes in unrestricted, it's unrestricted, right?
That's true. And what we
Okay.
would do is try to make sure we wouldn't have to raise prices as best possible going forward, is primarily our concern, to make sure that everyone would have a meal at a reasonable price.
Well, I'm not trying to take a meal away from a child.
I think the point that Mr. Rape's trying to make is he wants to know what can and can't we use those unrestricted dollars for? And that's probably something that in our finance committee, Mr. Rape, I would contend, that's something that we should sit down with our finance committee board members and go through, so that they all and we all understand what that money can and cannot be used for.
Absolutely. And right now, we would be using that for future years' operations, but we certainly can give you specifics as to what you can and can't use it for. Not a problem.
And further down on the agenda, we are going to have a financial update tonight, and maybe you'll have an opportunity to ask some of those more specific questions and allow him to finish the audit. And then, sure, and just make a note of all your questions, and maybe it will help in the financial update section.
All right. Okay, so I think we've pretty well gone over Exhibit 7 then. So moving on to Exhibit 8, these are your revenues and expenditures for these two funds. Overall, the two funds both lost money this year. You can see at the bottom of the page, there's a change in net position was a decrease of $247,000 and $433,000. One key thing to note here, that is while the funds did lose money this year, they were both able to pay about $500,000 in indirect costs during the current year. We're seeing a lot of districts across the state that aren't profitable enough to pay indirect costs, and the overhead cost ends up being absorbed partially by the general fund for the cost of running these funds. Overall, the child nutrition program had a good year, and it appears to be operating soundly and has a good fund balance as of June 30th, 2016. Any questions? All right. After these exhibits, you have a cash flow statement, then about 20 pages of notes that describe various assets, liabilities, accounting policies, pension disclosures, and other aspects of the financials in more detail. After the footnotes, there are a few more schedules that show the same funds that we've discussed, but a little more detail and more budget versus actual comparisons. After that, on page 50, starts the statistical section of the CAFR. This section contains charts and tables comparing the information we just went over the past 10 previous years, so you can see how the board has grown over the last 10 years. Being located where you are in the state results in this growth, which ends up being one of the most important challenges facing this district, managing that growth. The increased funding, the new schools, new teachers, buses, staff, your level of growth definitely presents a unique challenge shared by just a handful of districts statewide. So again, in this section, you can see the revenues and expenditures over the last 10 years, your fund balance, capital project spendings, average daily attendance, which has grown over the last 10 years from 31,000 to 41,000 students during that period. Also in this section is some information included about county property taxes and demographics, which are all comparative to the previous 10 years. After the statistical section, come to the final part of the financials, the compliance section. Starting on page 86, is the first of 3 letters we issued relating to our compliance testing over the board's internal controls and expenditures of state and federal awards. All 3 of these letters are also clean, unmodified reports, which means that there are no internal control weaknesses, findings, or question costs reflected in any of these letters. Basically, these letters let you know that we did not know any improper use of grant funds, and that we feel that the district's finances appear to have been expended properly and in accordance with budgets approved by the Board of Education and requirements issued by the state and federal governments for each of the programs we audit as major. Overall, we felt the audit went very well, and we were pleased with what we saw from both a financial and compliance audit standpoint. I would like to thank Mr. Karpinski and all the finance staff who helped us to get the audit completed this year and put up with us asking for various reports and asking numerous questions for the 2 weeks we were on site. We were required to request a lot of information as part of the audit, and they always do a great job having things ready for us and in good order when we arrive. Are there any further questions? If not, thank you for your time this evening, and we look forward to working with you and management again next year. If you have any questions after the meeting, Dan has our contact information, and please feel free to contact us anytime. And as far as the question earlier, Mr. Rape, I will make sure that we have a clear answer for you regarding the 3.8.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Houlihan, is it necessary for the board to vote to accept the audit? Or is it is already accepted?
I don't believe so. This is more of an informational item. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we will have the TE21 Spire materials.
Good evening again, board members. We sent you in the packets last week information regarding training and materials that we wish to provide our schools, elementary schools, regarding specific learning disabilities in reading, training that would provide additional training for a teacher and a specialist at the school to receive more training to address reading difficulties, in particular dyslexia. We've provided a quote on a program that is based upon the Orton-Gillingham approach to addressing these needs for our teachers, and it's part of a strategy that we have to do more intensive training and provide more support for our students that are experiencing difficulties with reading. And we're open to your questions. I do have representatives from the EC department here as well who would be organizing the training.
I have a question. When you chose this program, did you talk to or meet other schools that are actually using it and that have implemented it and see how it works for them?
Good evening, board members. I'm Janie Webb, the EC director. We have been utilizing the SPIRE program within our schools for approximately the past 2 years in specific schools where we recognize students with particular difficulty, and what we were utilizing within our school system was not working for those individual students. So we have our own experience with that, but I have with me also tonight Carrie Rule, who is our EC literacy specialist, and she is phenomenal, and I can let her speak to her interactions with that program.
Hi, I am Carrie Rule, EC Literacy Coordinator for Union County Public Schools. To address your question, I usually attend district meetings and state meetings, and at those meetings, I'm able to correspond and talk with other people and individuals from other districts. Last year, I attended the Reading Foundations training, and at that training, I was able to talk with trainers for SPIRE and also teachers who had implemented those in other districts. And they spoke very, very highly of the success rate that they had with students through the SPIRE program. So taking their recommendation and then doing some research on our own to find out what the benefits of the program were, that's why we decided to go with that Orton Gillingham-based approach to help our students who are struggling in reading.
Dr. Webb, you had mentioned that Union County Public Schools has used this in a number of locations over the past 2 years. Approximately how many locations were we already using SPIRE? And what was the success rate at those test pilots?
Well, actually, I believe we have about 19 currently trained teachers. Okay, and so with that, there's approximately 19 schools that have used it in some form or fashion. The results that we've heard from parents and from teachers has been very positive. I don't have specific numbers for that, but we have had good success, and a lot of the things that we hear from our parents now are based on the Orton Gillingham method.
So if I understood you correctly, we're already using the SPIRE in 19 of our 53 schools.
It's 15 schools, but we have 19 teachers currently trained in the use of SPIRE.
Were there any other programs that you used in conjunction with SPIRE? And how did you determine that SPIRE was the best program to help with a disability such as dyslexia? How many programs did you look at before you determined that SPIRE was the one?
Well, in years past, I've been with the county for 30 years now. We have used language exclamation point over the years as well. What we found with that is it also follows these principles, static and explicit instruction, but I think our principals and our teachers found that it did not meet the needs that we felt. So we backed out of that. We have done a lot of strategies with the Readers and Writers Workshop, trying to follow that and align with what our regular ed and general ed was doing, along with specific reading strategies. The other thing that we have utilized with some of our students is the leveled literacy intervention. But even that in and of itself is not enough to provide what SPIRE can provide. Carrie can talk to you a little bit more about the feel that a lot of these students need remediation. So, and that's what SPIRE helps us to do.
SPIRE addresses the needs of students who have core deficits in phonological awareness, phonics, and decoding. When you look at other programs that are available that we have used in the past, like LLI, they don't explicitly address those issues. And so what we're looking at, or what we have, is we have a multitude of readers who have varying deficits. This program will fit those students who have decoding, phonological awareness, and phonics issues, which the other programs do not address.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't heard you mention writing and handwriting, which I know can coincide with dyslexia. How will SPIRE address or not address children who are not only struggling with the dyslexia, but it affects their writing skills?
Okay, when you talk about handwriting and specifically, a lot of kids with dyslexia they confuse their letters because they don't have automaticity with those letters and those letter formations yet. SPIRE addresses that. There is actually verbal paths that they use to trace the letters using that multi-sensory approach, which is so needed with our kids with dyslexia, so that they can build muscle memory and build automaticity with those letters.
Would you consider this a program primarily for elementary?
It is actually written for it's written for kindergarten through 8th grade. However, when we look at the research, the students who respond best to it are in the elementary schools. That's why we recommend the program for elementary school.
So one of my first meetings that I had here with Union County Public Schools, this issue came up it came up with several board members, and I very vividly remember someone asking me to look at what can we do from a resource standpoint and a training standpoint to ensure that in all 30 of our elementary schools, we have dedicated staff that are going to be trained in these types of approaches, programs, and strategies to identify and help teachers understand how to best work with children that might have dyslexia. This is the recommendation coming forth to address that. So now we'll be moving from 15 schools to all of our elementary schools, ensuring there is a dedicated staff member in that school, if not more, that can help our teachers and our kids with these particular issues.
If the program is appropriate for K through 8, could you foresee this extending into the middle schools?
I personally could. I think if we do a great job in the early years, the idea that I would have is if you can apply this in K through 5 or really K through 3 to address early reading and phonemic awareness, phonological awareness, that hopefully those strategies can actually be reduced by the time children get to middle school. If the need is there, absolutely. But I think we need to spend the second semester and into next year determining across these 30 schools, to your very point, before we go into middle school, let's make sure this is being successful.
I just have a quick question. What is the definition of success with these programs?
You want me to address that? Success with these programs is when students make accelerated growth. That means more than a year's worth of growth. Usually a typical child makes a year's worth of growth in a year. We're looking at accelerated growth, which means that these kids are making more than a year's worth of growth, which is our goal. We have to close the gap. It has to be more than a year.
Are there any more questions?
Dr. Jones, has this proposal been brought before the curriculum committee?
Has not been brought before the curriculum committee. Specifically, we did discuss this in the Special Needs Advisory Council Committee. Discuss that, but it has not come before. We have not had a committee meeting. We can present it before curriculum.
And I believe it was $135,000 cost to expand the program. That is, where's it proposed to come from?
Would be using instructional funds. So we would be using either high priority, critical need, DSSF, what funding we have in our office that we use to purchase instructional materials.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to offer a motion that this proposal should have very serious consideration, but I believe the curriculum committee, a newly formed curriculum committee, would be the appropriate place to start, where they could ask more in-depth questions, perhaps even sample the program. Several weeks ago, I attended a dyslexia workshop where we actually were involved in stations that actually simulated the effects of dyslexia, and I can only tell you how perplexing. I can only imagine how it is for a student that's afflicted with this. And so I think this issue should be taken very seriously. And as I've mentioned previously, I think the identification, the successful identification down to it is a dyslexia or it isn't or other reading disability is just as important as the cure. And I think in such a serious proposal as this one should be vetted by the curriculum committee. So I will offer that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we can just, Dr. Houlihan?
So thank you. The reason that this is coming forth this evening is because there are implications and timing around training. And we would like to begin this program and this approach and begin training our schools and our teachers in January. Now, if we want to table this item and have it come back for review for the curriculum committee, then we'll bring it back in the January board meeting, but we will be a month delayed on the implementation and on the training. That is why it's coming before you now. We have a sense of urgency around this. I have several principals here tonight. They've been asking us for this. And so that's why it's coming to the December meeting. It is the board's decision. I respect that. But I want to explain to you all why it's remained on the agenda for this evening.
Any more comments? Okay, we have a motion to take this to the curriculum meeting and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? One. Okay, the motion passes. I commit to, we'll get this announcement for the curriculum ASAP, and we'll try to get this moved forward. I want to thank each of you. I am very familiar with Orton Gillingham. I know that there are others in this room who are very familiar with dyslexia and working with children in our school district. And we commit to taking care of this as soon as possible for you.
Madam Chair, if I may add, maybe we can consider having a special meeting, teleconference if we can, so that we can get this in place. If the curriculum committee meets and
I
has
think that's
something,
fair.
then maybe we can do that.
I think that's a good plan.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jones. Okay, next we have a financial update.
I believe we had on the agenda a state funding update. So that's what you have here. What we have is for board members that weren't here in November. On November 1st, the board passed a budget of state funds of $225 million. The main thing that has happened since then, of course, like every year, we get many revisions from the state. I have attached a revision that has occurred that is primary reason for funds to go down in this particular case. At the end of the agenda, we'll have budget amendments and transfers. So this is a big part of what has happened. The way state treats new charter schools, as you all know, we had 2 new charter schools in Union County, and we have Union Day and we have Union Preparatory at Indian Trail. Essentially, they don't know who's going to go to those charter schools until the doors open and they start enrolling children and actually get ADMs. So what they do for new charter schools, not existing, Union Academy, for instance, we don't see any of their money, but these 2 new charter schools, until they know who's actually going to go there, we get the money first. So they sent the money to us. Then, as revision number 21 suggests, all these adjustments that you see as negatives to the tune of 3.9, almost $4 million, are adjustments to the budget that they gave us money for these 2 new charter schools, and now they're reallocating it to the charter schools. Like I said, later in the meeting, we will have budget amendments and transfers, and that'll show you the progress from revision 1 to, we're now up to revision number 23. Last year, we had a total of 44 revisions from the state for various reasons. So that is the state budget update. It has gone down, and I noticed today we received an allotment, revision number 24, that increases the transportation budget. Typically, they give us 80% or thereabouts of our money up front. Then they give us an additional 20% allotment after they do all the numbers, look at the efficiency rating. So these are routine adjustments. Amendments are when we would get additional funding or reduced funding, and transfers are simply transfers from one account to another within the same fund. So that is the state budget update.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Typically, in the packet that we got from the accounting firm on last year's audit, there's a budget to actual that shows how we did versus the budget we originally had and what we spent throughout the year. Do we do that on a monthly basis, or is that something that's handed out to the Board of Education, where we could see budget to what's actually going on, both federal, state, and local?
We have not. What we've done in the past is essentially a quarterly report showing what was budgeted, what we spent and or encumbered to date, and the remaining budget for all the funds, state, local, federal, capital, the Child Nutrition Fund, and the After-School Program Fund. So typically, we've done quarterly updates. End of year, we typically wait to get the audit, so you all get clean financial data. And then as of December 31st, we will plan on having a report to the Board of Education out as soon as we can after the year end for this year.
Thank you. Any
Dan, I
more
have a
questions
question.
on state?
Yeah, I have a question as well. I notice about halfway down, pupil transportation has decreased significantly, about 80%, from 260,000 to 55,000. What exactly is that line, and why such a drastic reduction?
Once again, this $10,255,000 we get from transportation is being reduced for 287,000 specifically for charter schools. And the way you can read this report, if you would go to the last page of the revision number 21, all of these reductions to our budget are the result of LEA charter school reductions first month. So based on the students at specifically or primarily Union Day and Union Preparatory, we have to give them some of the allocation that we received on their behalf at the beginning of the year to account for the students they get.
So Dan, let me add to that, and Marlon and Sam, correct me if I'm wrong. Another way to say that is we have less kids riding our bus. Our ridership is down, which has a dollar impact. So whether or not it's kids going to charter schools that don't ride the Union County Public School buses, or kids who are choosing to have their parents drive them to school, our riders are down. But that has a direct impact on budget.
Just seems, I mean, an 80% reduction in that particular line. Do you have an idea, like, what is that line for? 280,000 sounds light for pupil transportation.
It actually is a lot less than that. It's only 287 as a percentage of 10 million. So it's not 20%. It's more like 2%. But we don't decide.
This is a portion. This line here is a portion of the total transportation budget.
The 287, excuse me, sir?
Yes. What exactly is that for? It's for the summer reading program, is that correct?
No, I thought we were talking about 056 transportation, the $287,542.
No, we're talking.
Yeah.
So pupil transportation, it's code 1.6550.016.331, about halfway down the page.
Well, the 287 in budget amendment that you were talking about, the 287,542, it says gas and diesel fuel. Is that just where we take it out of in general?
That's right.
Okay. And then I think he has a question, it's on
you-
that same budget amendment, a few rows up.
Okay, we're way in a different place. We're two more agenda items down. So you're talking about budget amendments and transfers. Excuse me, we're on state funding update right now. We're going to get to the budget amendments and transfers shortly. I was thinking you were looking at the report that was given to you with the state budget update. Excuse me. Okay, let's move on if we could. If there's not any question, basically the state budget is amended constantly throughout the year for various reasons. And we do those revisions as we get them to put the dollars to the students as needed. The next item.
Could I ask you, so basically, we're getting $4 million less from the state.
That's correct.
Where does that hit us? What has to be cut because we don't have $4 million, as much $4 million as we originally budgeted for?
Like I said at the beginning, we get those dollars on behalf of those two, primarily there's those two new charter schools.
Right.
So they give us more money at the beginning of the year than we're really entitled to.
Right.
And then once the numbers are identified as of the 20th day.
It goes out the back door.
Correct. So we become a conduit, a flow through for the new charter schools students, if you will. And specifically, they get classroom teachers, they get non-instructional support, instructional support, career and technical education, months of employment, so on and so forth. The 287,000 I was talking about in transportation. So essentially, yes, our budget is decreased by 4, but it wasn't ours to begin with.
Right. And that happens on a state level, and it also happens in local money.
They're different.
Right, but they're different, but the process is still the same. It flows through to the charters, or we get less because of less enrollment.
Only with new charter schools. Like, for instance,
Right,
none
on
of
top
the,
of last year, yeah.
well, Union Academy has a
Right.
big presence in Union County.
Right.
But because they didn't grow greater than 7%, their money would go directly from the state. We would never see that money, and it would go right to them. So this large adjustment of $4 million
Right.
is really because of the fact that we've had 2 new charter schools open in Union County this year. So this hasn't happened since the time of Union Academy opening.
This
in
is
Union
not the
County.
total amount of money that flows to the charters from the state. This is, like you're saying, this is just because we got 2 new charters that have impacted us this year.
That's
State
right.
funds for the already existing ones have already been taken out in previous years, and they're flowing straight to those like UA.
Right, because
This
they
is
were-
what's hit us this year.
That's right. That's
All
what
right.
hit us this year.
Yep.
And my understanding is the state doesn't know how many students they're going to have at Union Prep or Union Day. So they'll upfront them some money that doesn't go through us.
Right.
But this is the rest of their money that I'm aware of that they get. And of course, they get revisions as well. So they might get additional dollars, but this is what comes through our records and books because they don't know what those student counts are going to be until the 20th day.
The 20th day or the 40th day?
For them, it's the 20th.
Okay.
And then for us, it's the higher of the 20th or the 40th.
All right. Then what happens if enrollment changes during the year, as far as state dollars now, not local, but let's say those charters fluctuate a little bit? I mean, is it an ongoing thing, like every month they have to report and the state catches up to them, or they just, the 20th day is a cutoff?
It's my understanding that for charter schools, the 20th day is the cutoff.
Okay. And then if they want to try and get, from this year on, they get their money directly from the state. We're not involved in that process.
Yes, sir, I believe that's the case.
Question about that. Well, there's one charter school, it starts at 3rd grade or goes up to K through 3rd. And you said the threshold is 7%. If it increases next year to 4th grade, wouldn't that increase it to 7%?
And that's the way the mechanism works. If a charter school grows 7%, and I believe that's simply taking 100% divided by 13, which is grades K through 12. So you could stair up and have at a grade level, and therefore you wouldn't have to have money come through us because that would be in the formula. So they would get funded for that extra grade level. Okay, if there's no other questions, let's move on to now charter school funding analysis. And this is now local portion, if you will. What you have, of course, is the number of charter schools funded. Last year versus this year, we've went down, even though we've had 2 more that are in our county. We've had several drop. We actually have students going to Union Day, Mallard Creek, and Union Prep, as well as Matthews Charters, but we had a few students going to Ace Academy, Queen City Grant, or STEM, Mountain Island, Invest Collegiate, Kennedy Charter, and Veritas. So the net result is there's 2 less charter schools, but that doesn't mean we're funding less charter school students. In fact, the next line, number of charter school students funded. Last year, we funded 1,878. This year, 2,887. It goes over the per pupil expense, and that's the local portion that we are, in fact, the conduit. The county gives us money, and we have to flow through that money to the charter schools. We do have a couple of virtual academies, the North Carolina Virtual Academy and the Connections Academy. they get funded at a different level, $790 per student in our case. And that shows you that our total virtual and charter school budget requirement last year was $4,100,000 approximately. And this year it's $6,373,000. Our budgets started last year at $3,784,000. By law, we can transfer up to 10%. We did transfer the amount of approximately 8.3% to make up that difference. And therefore, we did not have a budget deficit because we were allowed to transfer that money last year. This year, the budget started again at that 3.7 because we never actually got dollars from the county for the charter school students. Now that we've grown over 1,000 students in the charter school area, we have a delta of 2.5 million. And that number will fluctuate. You asked about how students come and go. Well, every month I'm getting invoices from charter schools. Our ADM is also fluctuating. It probably, based on what we know now, our ADM went up from 20th day to the 40th day, and the state will fund us on that 40th day if our numbers went up. But bottom line here is that by law, the county commissioners said that we can't transfer more than 10% of our dollars, so we're going to have to go to them one way or another to help with this budget delta.
Any more questions about the charter school?
When is this payment due, Mr. Kropinski?
We have enough money in our budget to get us through a full payment for January. So February, we would be short dollars to make a full payment to the charter schools.
So you make monthly payments, not quarterly?
I make monthly payments. For existing, like Union Academy, I'll start paying them in July. We get 1/12 of our money in July. I know they're operating. You know, if a charter school only has 1 or 2 students, I wouldn't pay them until I got an invoice.
So monthly, you were making payments to 15 different charter schools?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chairman, I would think this would expedite the need for a finance committee meeting to, correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, either we get the money to flow this through to the charters or we figure out what we cut from our existing budget in order to fund it, because we've got to pay the local fund portion to the charter schools. There's no getting around it, correct?
Yes, sir.
It's got to come from somewhere.
Yeah, in order to make those decisions, we need to see the budget versus actual at the year end at the 6-month mark too, so.
Absolutely not a problem. That's what we plan on doing. We plan on having that budget versus actual for all funds as we typically do at the end of the second quarter.
Can staff be prepared for a budget finance committee meeting before the Christmas break?
We'll be ready tomorrow.
We'll be ready tomorrow.
No, I'm not trying to be silly. I'm serious. I mean, we have to have a sense of urgency around this. And we have to work, you know, Commissioner Helms came today. I'm glad he came because we have a commitment to work administration, board to board around this issue. Dan made a comment earlier. I want to kind of back on that around, we did not get allocation from the county for what we did get an allocation from the county. The question is, did we project the right amount of growth in the charter schools to validate additional funding on top of what we got? Maybe we didn't. I'm not sure. But we have to have a sense of urgency because we cannot get to the end of January and sit around and not have a plan on how we're going to pay our charter schools. It is state law. It's our responsibility. We have to do it.
I would agree 100%. And I think it's part of the difficulty has been clarifying for the county the process of how this money flows. And if you think about it, it's kind of backwards. I mean, the charters go to the state directly for their state funds, but for their local funding has to flow through us. So basically we're responsible for the accounting and it has to be on our books even though it's flowing through. And I think we have to be very, very clear in educating our counterparts in the county the mechanics of how this is working. It's not our money. We're not coming to ask you for more money for us. It's more money that has to be paid out from somewhere.
Right.
Okay, any more questions or comments for charters? We can move along to Q, amendments and transfers.
And as I said earlier, and I think you had a narrative in your board materials that went out this last Monday, essentially you have state fund amendment number 1. And if you notice, that amendment adds up to $3,584,000, of which that $4 million is a part of this. Of course, we've had other accounts that have gone up to offset the $4 million for the for the charter school allotment to them. So Amendment 1 shows you line by line where the money is increasing or decreasing. And like I said, the primary thing going on here is the charter school money going to Union Day and Union Prep. And then another item that might be of interest to the board is we have state textbooks going down, but for $936,000, but then they're also going up for $900,000. The instructional division decides that some of these textbooks need to be bought off of the state adopted textbook list. They're of course in good context for children, but that's where you see that $900,000 transferring from the state textbooks to the other textbooks. You can see our revenue went up for the state public school fund. Went down from 221 million to 218 million. The school technology fund only went up $28. I guess that was for interest possibly. And then our state textbooks went down, but I explained that as well. Federal funds, our federal programs put together plans every year to how they're going to spend those dollars. Once those dollars come in, a lot of times they come in installments. You will see an increase, and in this case, you see a $4.6 million increase for a total budget of $13.8 million. And then you can see that the revenues coming in from IEDA 6B, Title III, and IDEA targeted assistance. Capital funds, the state lease bus purchase. Money comes in for state buses. All of our yellow buses are ultimately replaced by the state. We buy them once, then they're replaced, and that state lease has to be booked in our capital account, and that is what the 1.453 is for. LEA for finance purchase buses. Special.
Dan, I have a question about that. So just to be clear, when we buy a bus the first time, and then once we get it to 250,000, they replace it.
That's right. Yes, sir.
Okay, so what is our fixed bus fleet that we, or where are we at? I mean, like, is it at 300, 400?
I believe we have approximately 315 buses, and of course, the goal is to operate as few as possible to get the job done. But last count I knew of, and Mr. Bays, here's.
We currently have 295 buses on the road, and we have 10% of our total fleet should be spare buses. And so like Mr. Karpinski said, when we buy a bus, we have to buy it initially, and then the state will replace it at 20 years or 250,000 miles, whichever comes first.
And that's why when I visited you, the 250,000 in February is the cutoff point, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I admire you for that. That made a lot of sense to me. So 315 or 315 is our bus.
But 295 are on the road.
Right. We were able to park some buses this year. So when we park buses, we look at ridership and we look at time. And if those two things will allow us to park buses, then, if we have the time available and we have the space available, then we look at, parking the bus.
Okay.
Okay, then we have the special specific fund. This fund is for non-general K-12 education. So what you see here is additional coming in. As you can see, the money coming in is from Medicaid, medical reimbursement, Southwest Education Alliance, preschool peer pal. There are pretty much restricted funds that we're budgeting because we received the money recently. Next thing is state funds, transfers now. Transfers simply moving money from one budget line item to another. This state funds transfer number 1 is movement of money from classroom teacher 001 to fund the salary for VIF teachers primarily. So we have many VIF teachers in our system, and the state doesn't allow us to account for it in the classroom teacher code. We have to move it to this VIF teacher code, program 20.
Dan, I have a question about that. How much does a VIF teacher cost us percentage-wise to a regular teacher?
I don't know the exact percentage. We do pay a little bit less for it because we don't have to pay for benefits, but I couldn't give you the exact percent.
David Clark, do you know the answer to that?
Teachers are paid just like the other teachers in the classroom. So they don't, and we get a certain amount of money that goes transferred from one code to the other code, which is usually the average teacher salary. And it's less, generally, what we pay the teachers that are VIF teachers is less than what's is able to be transferred over from one code to the next.
Is that because they don't pay retirement being a foreign resident?
Well, again, a lot of times these teachers that the transfer of the money is, the state tells us is the average teacher salary, and those that are coming in to teach are generally not teachers with 10 years of experience. They're less years of experience. That's why it's less.
And then another question I had, Splash. Explain to me what Splash is.
Dual language immersion is an opportunity for students, parents, if they want their students to be enrolled to where they'll either take Spanish, dual language, starting in kindergarten. And we've got this, and we have schools that have Mandarin, and we have 9 programs right now that have the dual language programs in them. We have students that are already in 4th grade that are taking dual language, and some schools have started in the last 2 years, so they may be in 1st grade. So they'll take approximately 90, the merchant program will be about 90-10. They'll do 90% in their target language and 10% in the English language. And as they progress through the years, they'll have more English language, so that by the time they leave elementary school, they'll have two languages that they've mastered.
Are these children that are starting off basically non-English speaking?
Now, these children are English-speaking students, generally speaking.
Okay.
And you have to be, am I correct that they parents apply in kindergarten? You wouldn't be able to enter as a 2nd grader or a 3rd grader, correct?
We have some instances where you can be a 1st grader but they have to provide us some information of where they've had that language exposure before. After that, but kindergarten is generally where we've had most of the student, 90 to 99% of the students, or even more than that, have been starting off in kindergarten. Thank you.
Dan, we passed over on page 42, other revenues, the total was 5.2 million. Other special revenue funds.
Yes, sir.
What is that money? Explain that to me. What is it? Is it encumbered?
All of this money is budgeted. Yes, sir. All of it's budgeted. So let me get to it. We're talking about, you're going back to an amendment or?
Well, I mean, there's interest included. In other words, this money's already spent on something else.
No, it's actually setting up the budget. And let me make sure I'm getting to the right page. You said on page, what page did you say?
42. It's note 3, other special revenue funds, other revenues.
Yeah, you're on the audit. Yeah, you're not in his report, you're on the audit. That's a different item.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
You mentioned the Medicaid reimbursements.
Yes.
They're listed on here too.
That's right. I mean, you're looking at a totally different document than the
Okay.
agenda item we're on. But the special or specific fund increased the 160,000. And yes, Medicaid, administrative outreach, medical reimbursement, Southwest Education, some CTE summer camp money. Like I said, this fund is used for non-general K-12, and a lot of the money is restricted to specific programs for those children that are non-regular K-12. And I believe we were at transfer of, we went over capital funds, and that is the amendments and transfers that need to be approved by the board tonight. Unless there's any other questions.
Joe, were you going to ask the question about the pupil transportation? Because I hear, what?
Yeah, so halfway down on the first page, state funds, pupil transportation, this is where I was getting at earlier with the, about an 80% reduction on that cost. It goes from 260,000 to 204,421. I'm sorry, 204,421 taken off for 55,578.
Right.
It seems like a pretty drastic reduction. Can you explain specifically what that's coming away from?
I do know specifically what that is, and Marlon could speak to it more efficiently than I, but bottom line is, in our gas account, at the beginning of the year, we had $1,522,000 for gas, diesel fuel. As a result of fuel prices going down, the state took that $287,542 from us as part of the way they do their efficiency formula and how they fund us. So that 287 is specifically related to fuel that we won't need because prices have gone down.
So let's go up about 12, 15 lines. Pupil transportation. It's going from 260,000. 204 is coming off of it for 55,578. It's a very drastic reduction. That's the line that I'm questioning. Pupil transportation.
Okay. Shauna just mentioned it to me, and essentially that is for summer reading camp. Why don't you come explain it to it?
That's specifically summer reading camp. They run summer reading for first, second, and third grade. They did a reduction for whatever funds we didn't spend, and that's where we didn't spend funding. So in the summer, they did not transport enough students to necessitate those funds, so there was a reduction. That's where it came from.
So are you saying that this summer we only have $55,000 in that allotment to do that?
Right.
Thank
So
you.
we had more funds, and you see the total reduction. So we had a total there anticipating transportation, but we didn't have the transportation. So when they reduced the funding, that's where it comes from, because we didn't spend it on transportation.
So if I'm hearing this correctly, we took actuals from this past summer and we're adjusting what was budgeted this year to coincide with the actuals that were spent last year?
The summer camp fund comes in before the end of the year, and it's carried over into the next year because you're doing it over the summer. So when they do the reduction, it's at the end of August. So at the end of August, your summer camp should be done with, and all your bills should be paid.
Okay, thank you.
Could I ask, while Marlon's up here, the reduction in fuel funding that we received, is it realistic as far as how much the cost of fuel actually went down? So did we not get hit?
Well,
Does that make sense?
I think I understand the question. As it stands right now, to this date, we're about $61,000 less than what we were last year.
Less, but is the cost reduced enough to offset that loss of funding?
The cost
They've
of fuel,
reduced our funding because they say the price of fuel has gone down. Has the price of fuel really gone down that much that they've caught us, or is that an actual reporting kind of thing?
the fuel has gone down, and I think us doing the daily quotes or the daily bids also helps us to save monies too,
Okay,
to offset some of the costs.
okay. So you're not going to be in the hole because the state says the gas costs less and they've taken money away from us, is basically where I'm getting to.
Correct.
Right.
As it stands right now, I don't foresee us being in the hole.
Okay, all right, that's
Sir.
Okay, everyone good with their questions and, okay, are we ready to make a motion?
I will make a motion for the appropriate capital budget transfer.
Yeah, it needs to be,
A second.
Okay, all those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, passes. Thank you very much, Dan.
Thank you.
We are ready to make a motion to go into closed session. Okay, I need a motion to go into closed session.
I'll make a motion to go to closed session.
Oh, and that, okay. Oh, before I can, okay. Pursuant to North Carolina GS 143-131 for the consideration of bids, prevent the disclosure of privileged student information pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11 A1 and under NCGS 11-5C-402 and FERPA 20 USC 1232G. Prevent the disclosure of privileged personnel information pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11 A1 and under Chapter 115C, Article 21A of the North Carolina General Statutes pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11 A3 to consult with an attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged, and to consider and give instructions concerning an administrative procedure.
A second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No, we got to confirm our closed session decisions. Comments, announcements, and adjournment.
There's a charger in the bag, too.
Did you get one of these?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a charger and ports and chips.
Okay, we are back in open session. And I need a motion to approve the re-roofing contract for Newtown Elementary School.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Okay, the motion is approved. Okay. So we'll move on to board comments.
Well, I'd like to, Ms. Cook, where's she? Oh, there you go. I'd like to say thank you so much for your hospitality, and I know it's a little stressful when you are the first school after a swearing in, so thank you so much for your hospitality. And also, I'd like to say congratulations to the new board members. I look forward to working with all of you all. I think it's going to be just really good. And the way that we started out tonight is an indication we're on the right track. And Ms. Helms, it's a pleasure to continue to work with you. And Madam Chair, I look forward to working with you, helping you any way I can. And Mr. Sides as vice. Thank you. And good night.
Mrs. Cook, thank you very much. And please extend our thank you to your staff and to your parents and site-based and everyone who was here tonight, and to your teachers and your students who presented. It was extremely impressive, your IB program and your theater program. So please tell them thank you for us for being here at our meeting tonight. I want to say congratulations to our new board members, and congratulations to Mrs. Helms for her reelection. I'm very excited about this new board and working with our new superintendent going forward. And I also would like to extend a thank you to Commissioner Richard Helms for, he had a meeting last night with the county commissioner, and he found it important to be here with us tonight. And I think that says a lot about our two boards working together, and I'm very encouraged. So I do want to thank Richard Helms for that. And we're going to be rolling out committees very, very quickly. If there, I've heard from many of you on, what you're interested in, and I would say within the next 24 hours, we're going to get something out so that we can address facilities, curriculum, finance, all those things that came up tonight, and possibly hold a special meeting before the 21st, before Christmas, to take care of some important issues that were presented to us tonight. So thank you again. We love being here at Marvin Ridge High School. Thank you.
I would also like to thank you for your hospitality. I would like to thank the board for their confidence in me as vice chair. I look forward to working with Ms. Merrill. And if I don't see you all, have a Merry Christmas.
I want to say thanks for staying so late, everybody who stayed late. I too have sat in those chairs before and know how uncomfortable they are, so I appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody's support throughout the election and now, and we're super excited to get started getting some stuff done. So thanks.
And I'll echo what Kathy said. Thanks, everybody, for your support during the election, and look forward to representing you all on the board.
I would like to thank Dr. Cook. I'm very impressed by Marvin Ridge. I've been here a couple times on the outside to a football game, but it's a very impressive school. I happened to retire from Hickory Ridge. I believe I told you that, the team that we lost to, but I was still pulling for Union County. I do appreciate everybody that supported me, and I promise to stay true to my campaign promises of a safe environment for the teachers and the students, to work towards neighborhood schools, to make sure that we manage the county's money to where the excellent education is delivered, but we're going to do it as cheap as possible. And I thank everybody that worked for me in the election. I really do. And it means a lot for you to stay here to hear the comments. Thank you.
I would like to say thank you to everyone, and since I'm second last, Candace, if you'd like to say anything, go ahead. All right, I'll make the motion, we adjourn, and
And I second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Should we say something?
oh, my bad.
Oh.
Thank you for the individuals that supported me, as well as the individuals that believe in me. As already stated, thank you, Dr. Kook, for your hospitality, and I hope everyone has a great night.
Okay.
I now make the motion that we adjourn.
I second.
All those in favor? Aye. Good night, everyone. Thank you.